to Call to Encourage Therapy Thursday. Today we will be talking about tips to find the best therapist or counselor for you. Tips to find the best counselor or therapist for you. So, one of the things that you want to do when looking for a therapist, if you haven't already been referred to one, and if you think that, hey, I have an issue that I want to work on with a therapist, the first thing that you're going to do is possibly go to Psychology Today, or you're just going to put in the search engine therapist near me. This is important because you want to find a therapist that is close to your location. Because believe it or not, once you actually decide to go to therapy, the time that it takes you to get to therapy, how far it is, all of that can be an influencing factor for if you're going to go to that session. So I would say if you're going to be going to your therapist right after work, then possibly you want to find someone in the area close to where you work. If you want to see someone that's in your home area, then possibly you want to find someone in your home area. For those of you that are like my friend, when we discuss this, I don't want nobody that know me. I don't want anybody in my hometown. Okay, possibly you want to skip to a town that you would be willing to actually drive through, and that you're sure that you won't know that person, or they may know someone. But I would say the main thing is you have to be open to therapy. So let's start there. Be open to therapy. Be open to being vulnerable with someone. And so we're going to start with, again, searching someone that is near to you. After you find a therapist, let's just say possibly on Psychology Today that is near to you, you want to look and see if you can find a counselor that addresses your specific issue. Oh no, let's backtrack. Before you get to that, once you find someone near you, you want to make sure you find a clinician that is licensed. So if it's a psychologist, you want to make sure they have a Psych D, or you're going to make sure they have a PhD. If it's a therapist or counselor, you want to make sure they have their LPC or LPCC, depending on what state you're in. If it's a marriage and family counselor, you want to make sure they have their LMFT. But you want to make sure that whatever person that you're looking for, even if it's a social worker, you want to make sure they're licensed. Okay, now that we've crossed that boat, you want to look and narrow down your search by looking at therapists that address your specific issue: anxiety, depression, divorce, post-traumatic stress. All right. You want to lifestyle changes, whatever your specific issue is. You want to make sure that that therapist addresses your specific issue. All right, we're going to narrow down the results a little bit further, because you will see that most therapists address and are familiar with addressing a wide range of different diagnoses, different issues. But you want to make sure you find a therapist that specializes in your specific problem. All right? So with that being said, my problem may be sexual trauma. All right? But I also want to find a therapist that specializes in trauma: sexual, physical, mental, emotional, whatever. You want to peel the layers back of whatever that specific area is, and you want to make sure they specialize in specifically what you are looking for therapy for. All right, then you want to ask yourself, well, who would I be comfortable with? Do I want a therapist that has my same religion? Do I want someone that does non-traditional therapy? Do I want a male, or do I want a female? Do I want someone that's the same race or a different race? You want to narrow down the requirements and kind of peel back the layers of who you're going to be comfortable with. If I'm 60, I may not be comfortable working with a therapist that's in their early 20s or 30s. All right, I may want a counselor that's older and has a little bit more life experience. All right, but those are the things that you want to narrow down the type of counselor you want to work with. After that, once you narrow down who you're looking for, what the demographic looks like, the next thing you possibly want to address is what's within my budget. How much am I willing to pay for therapy? All right. And if you're not paying out, if it's a certain amount that you're wanting to pay out of pocket, you want to find counselors that are in that range. If your insurance is paying a portion of it or all of it, you want to find counselors that or therapists that actually accept your insurance. Okay. Secondly, when you narrow down your search of therapists, be selective. Don't just call one. When you get that list, you want to narrow down your requirements and you want to choose at least, I would say, 3 to 4 counselors from your search. So if you put in your zip code, if you put in the specific issue, if you found a counselor that specializes in your specific issue or need, and you've also put in the demographic that you're looking for, I want you to narrow down whatever that list is to at least 3 counselors. All right, because you're going to call them. You're going to call the counselor. You're possibly going to fill out a consultation form or just a screening that will ask you to email them or do an intake form, but you are going to call them, and that first call will likely be a consultation. Now, during that consultation, you're not only trying to find a therapist, right, and find someone that fits within your schedule. I forgot about that. What day? Some counselors don't see people on the weekend. Some counselors see people on the weekend. Some people see people from 8 to 3, and you may need somebody that sees people after 5. You want to consider all of that. All right, but during the consultation, you want to ask questions. Ask questions specifically that's going to increase or make you comfortable or identify your comfort level with working with that therapist. Because a part of therapy is you being open, is having a good rapport, being able to be in a place where you feel open, where you can communicate the things and not hold back. As I tell most clients, you have to be open, you have to be honest about what the problem is, or you're going to get a false solution. And so even when you're calling for that consultation, you are screening out and weeding out, well, this may not be a good fit, or she sounds perfect. She's been in the field, or he's been in the field for 10 years. She's had some success with my specific issue. Her treatment, her intervention sounds like those are the ones that I need. That's the therapist that you want to go with. All right. So to find a good therapist is going to take time, but I think if you can start with those things, right? So first off, zip code or a therapist near you. Look for a counselor that is licensed, that addresses your specific issue, i.e. depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, ADHD, parent-child relationship. All right, and then you want to make sure they specialize in what your specific problem is. I may be dealing with depression, but my depression has come from a life change. My kids, I'm an empty nester. My kids have left the home, and I've been struggling with dealing with not taking care of my kids and the focus being back on me. You want somebody that specializes in your specific area. You want to make sure that it fits within your budget, that they take your specific insurance. Another thing you want to address is, have you looked into if you haven't, your therapist will be able to tell you this when you call, but if you have, and possibly if you've been to therapy before, you know that you may be looking for a specific therapy modality. You may be looking for cognitive behavior therapy. You may be looking for EMDR to address your trauma, but you want to make sure that they are familiar with the therapy modality that you are looking for. And then it's COVID, so you want to actually make sure that They offer traditional sessions if you're wanting to see a counselor that's in office, or you want to also make sure they offer virtual sessions. Okay? And then you want to ask questions. Once you hit submit and you leave your name, your email, your number, when that therapist calls you, you want to have specific questions that's going to help you assess if they are a good fit for you. I hope this has been helpful. This is Call to Encourage Therapy Thursday. You have been inspired, you have been influenced, you have been instructed, and I know that your day has been impacted for good. See you next Thursday.